All right, so we got Sean Herrero here with Cross Country Mortgage. What's going on, man?
What's up, brother?
How are you?
Dude, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
So I wanted to have you on today really because you're, I'd say, like a big advocate for VA, VA buyers. Let's dive into that a little bit.
Cool. I'd love to.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So with VA, I guess I should say, why do more VA offers not get accepted?
So the reason I started focusing on it is it's an underserved community. And on the lending side, so I've been lending 22 years. Before I started helping people directly, I was behind the scenes for 15 years. And all these mortgage advisors kept telling me how profitable VA loans were. And I didn't understand why would you make more money on a VA loan than a regular loan? And at the same time, real estate agents would always say, oh, my client won't look at VA offers. I'm like, why not? Like, this seems like a group that should be served, and it feels like they're underserved. So why won't you? And there was misconceptions of how the loan worked on the real estate agent side. And then what I found out is lenders were basically the interest rate for a VA loan should be lower than a conventional loan. In my experience, it's about 0.5% less. So what was happening is lenders would say, maybe let's just make the rate an 1/8% less, and we make more money, right? But the veteran's not going to know. And that's why it was more profitable. I don't like that. So it's like, so I set out to say, you know what, I'm going to help these people as much as I can. And really that's what it comes down to. So the misconceptions on the real estate agent side are that the loan's harder, the appraisal's more difficult. There's just all these things that aren't true. The seller has to pay all the fees. Some of these might have been true 20 years ago, but they're not true now. But if you haven't experienced it since, you just kind of always revert back to your last experience. So I always say real estate agents are somewhat ignorant to it, not in a bad way, just a lack of understanding. So I feel like it's my job to make sure that they understand how the loan works today. It is the simplest loan to qualify for. It is the easiest loan. The appraisal is the same as a conventional loan or an FHA loan. The only difference is you have to have the Section 1 repairs done on a termite report. And in our market, if you're in the Bay Area and really a lot of the other parts of the country as well, that termite report is in the disclosures, right? So we're going to know what we're getting into before we even make an offer in most cases.
But even then, right, let's just say worst case scenario, a home has 10,000 in Section 1.
Yep.
Right. Whatever it is. Are you encouraging, those VA buyers, every VA buyer is different. Are you encouraging them to say like, hey, realistically, it's not that much, right?
Yep.
We all know they're a little inflated with the cost. So are you saying like, hey, you could easily offer to clear this Section 1 or anything like that to where, you're encouraging them that this isn't as bad as it may seem?
Yeah, every time. So what I would tell a buyer to do is, I call it the psychology of the seller. So we have to overcome the apprehensions the seller is going to have. And the first one is going to be, the first apprehension they're going to have is the listing agent said they don't like VA loans, right? So I got to overcome that first. So we're going to help them understand that you can pay for the Section 1 if you want to. So in the contract, using that $10,000 example, we'll pay $1 million for the house, whatever it is. Buyer will also pay for Section 1 clearance of termite report. So then it's like, okay, cool. So I'm not going to lose 10 grand as a seller. I don't have to worry about that. They're going to take care of it. I do have to let them in to do the work as a seller because it has to be done prior to closing. But you know what? I'm good with that. And that's really it. Like that is the most complicated thing, what we just described. And it's that simple to overcome.
So it's just that simple. Just prior to closing, those have to be. So basically like a picture, or does appraiser have to go back out or anything like, appraiser they don't really see the Section 1 work, right? They're kind of just going off the report, even if they have to look at that.
Yeah. So we have the Section 1 report that's provided. So let's just say we're taking the seller's report that was in the disclosures. It says it's $10,000. The work gets done, whether the inspector who did the initial inspection does it, or the work gets done. That same inspector would come certify, yep, check. This thing's good to go.
Yep. And
we're done. And there's actually a simplified form for VA loans. The VA has its own pest inspection form. So we don't need this 30-page termite report that's often included. Is there active infestation? No. Cool. Done. Right? We overcomplicate it, but I try to include that form with anytime I have a buyer's agent or a listing agent and we're working on a VA loan. Let's give them what they need, no more, no less. Is the inspector okay completing this form? Leave it at that.
What would you say the biggest way to win with VA offers is? You obviously described a lot of it, but is it more so the listing agent that kind of kills the VA, or is it the buyer's agent that doesn't know enough of how to win it? Like, are you part of, you know what I mean? Are you like half of the
So the lender's the biggest variable in
Yeah.
the transaction. I don't care if it's conventional VA, FHA. The reason realtors love cash offers is there's no lender to screw things up. So I'll go into any transaction going, I need to overcome the variable, right? I need to show that we are the most confident offer they're going to get, no matter what type of loan it is. So we have a process for that. I use a lot of video in that stage. But as far as the VA loan goes, what are your concerns? I'll call the listing agent. What are your concerns about the appraisal? Okay, there are none of those things matter. The appraisal will get done in, we get 7 business days in California to complete the report. The VA appraiser does. The report will be in 10 days or less. It's no different than a conventional appraisal. We do need the Section 1 done, but if you saw the offer, the buyer already said they're going to pay for that. We can close in 18 days. I just tried to make it look as good as I possibly can to where it's like, shoot, I thought that this was going to be hard. And now that I've seen how simple a VA loan can be, I'm going to help more veterans. That's what I want the agents to say.
Yeah. I'm sure you've done a lot of these, but do you ever just do like meetups, like just like coaching people on like really just how to win with VA offers?
I've tried to.
Yeah.
I've tried to do like agent workshops on that.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to come.
That's so weird.
I know.
I wonder if you did it like with VA buyers, like if you targeted VA buyers and agents.
I've done it. I've tried to. So like Travis Air Force Base, right?
Oh, yeah.
I've tried to do it around that. It's really hard to get people engaged in it because nobody wants to learn about something until they need it. You know, in a lot of cases.
Yeah, no, that's true.
But I think, I did a podcast with Black Rifle Coffee and that had a lot of VA clients call me and reach out and want to learn more. I think just people want what they want when they want it these days. It's harder to get them to come to an educational thing, or maybe they just think they're going to get sold.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I'm not going to sell you anything. I just want to make sure you do this right, whether it's with me or someone else.
Yeah. No, a lot of people, I'm sure after that just get bugged and like called a bunch.
Yeah,
after
you think
they
of like
something like that.
How many lenders are doing home buyer workshops and how many lenders are doing lunch and learns for realtors? And I just get lost in the shuffle probably. Yeah. But I wish more people would do that.
Yeah. Any other requirements that are super, I guess, strict with VA other than the Section 1 report? Is there any other like weird little nuances that would like I guess here's another scenario. What if they don't have inspection reports done up front?
So that's where we don't know what we're getting into, and that's where it's a little tougher. And in that case, it's, well, what's the condition of the house? I feel like, and tell me if this is how it works, as a listing agent, you kind of have an idea of what the pitfalls are of the property, right? Like, is it lipstick on a pig? But that's where it gets a little tougher because we have to get the inspection, but I just need that form filled out, right? So if we don't have any termite inspections done, let's get the VA specific termite report completed. It's 1 page and go from there. It's dry rot, active infestation. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, no, I mean, if I'm a listing agent on the listing agent side and, if I wasn't able to get my sellers for whatever reason to get those inspections done up front, which is, just not very smart in the first place. If I see some wood rot around the house and I look at a VA offer, I might say, well, I don't know what's going to come up, right?
Right.
Unless they're like really strong on price.
Right.
Like I remember back in 2021 when things were just crazy, we just went like bananas on price because they knew, they're like, we want to use our VA loan, it's great. But they knew like just what it was going to take.
Yeah. I have to overcome an objection.
Yeah. So that's essentially what we ended up doing. The seller was like, oh yeah, even if this doesn't appraise, like I'll most likely beat out, it'll most likely be better than all these other offers I have.
So that's a quirky thing. There's a form called a VA escape clause that has to do with the appraisal because you said not appraising. So the form says that the buyer has the ability to back out if the property doesn't appraise. And that's where agents get caught up. The next paragraph that no one ever wants to read says, but if they want to move forward, they're more than welcome to. And I think these days, we all know if something's going to appraise or not, right? There's enough data. It's not like the appraiser has some magical box that he pulls comps out of. We know. Yeah. And I think the other thing I like about VA appraisals is if it's going to come in low, we will know before the report's turned in because the appraiser issues what's called Tidewater. Of course, VA has to have some cool name for it. Tidewater, which means, hey, I can't find comparables to justify the sales price. Agent, lender, send me data. You get 3 days to complete it. So when I said we have 7 business days to get a VA appraisal in, if I'm getting into the 4th, 5th day and I don't have a request for that yet, I basically know it's going to appraise before I even have the report.
Okay. So why do you think that not enough agents, obviously it's lack of experience is in short, but why do you think they don't know enough about this stuff? For all the education we consume, why is it so hard to get down?
What we always say is, oh, we just don't do a lot of VA loans in this area. And we don't do them because we keep saying we don't want to see them, right? So it's our own fault. Like the amount of veterans that have, and active service, right? We've got Travis Air Force. We have Camp Parks in Dublin. You have Moffett Field. There's so much active duty and veterans in the area. And I think if agents and lenders chose to serve that community, it's completely underserved, they would do more. So like one time I did an Instagram post where I was like, doing a story, and I was like, hey, real estate agents, you're not going to believe this new loan program we just rolled out. It's 0 down up to 3 million. There's no debt to income ratio requirements, no credit score requirements. You don't have to have any reserves. Interest rates 0.5% lower than normal rates. Let me know if you want to learn about this program. Dude, my DMs blew up. And I'm just like, it's VA.
Just trolled hell.
And then they go dark.
Yeah.
But it was like, wait, you were interested now, right? Because it's, if like real estate agents getting paid on price, if you want to get someone into a home, $1 million home with 0 down, like that's the biggest obstacle, right? And even debt to income ratio, there's no debt to income ratio requirement on a VA loan. They use a residual income calculation, which is way more common sense, right? It doesn't matter. Like debt to income ratios never made sense to me, because if you make $5,000 a month and the debt to income ratio for the program says you can have 50% of your income be debt, so that's $2,500. Well, if you make $50,000 a month, you can have $25,000 in debt, but you still have 50 DTI, but I have $25,000 left. Why that? I don't need $25,000. Why wouldn't they go residual? And that's what I love about the VA loan.
Have you ever thought of like, oh man, it would make so much sense if like the USA or something put this type of incentive for VA offers or something, like anything where you think that things could be done better around VA offers or laws or guidelines or anything like that?
So there is one a couple years ago. It was and I think this still applies, and I don't know what the law was, but it was basically legal to discriminate against veterans. And I feel like that's what's happening still. So I've had clients where, hey, I qualify for VA, and the real estate agent will say, look, just use a conventional loan. Like they talk them into using a normal loan because it's just easier to get accepted because of the ignorance that we have in our industry. So I don't know if it's legislation that needs to happen. It's education. And that's why I'm so focused on it. I want every realtor to understand how VA loans work. I want every veteran to understand their benefit. Think about when you come out of the military, there's like, you're just thrown to the wolves, right? Hey, you were in this really structured life for, 4 to 20 years. Now you can do whatever you want. And on your way out, the last thing you're thinking about is, I wonder how my home mortgage program works. So it's just educating as many people as we can.
Right. So speaking of that way that you trolled people, and now we have the California Dream for All program coming back, just lay out for everybody your whatever it is, pros, cons, anything.
So here's what I loved about that program. That program gave people hope that didn't think they could buy a home. And that's what I like the most about it, because people reached out to me that wouldn't have reached out otherwise. And then the money was gone in 9 days. But I helped the majority of the people that reached out to me. The majority of them ended up buying a house with a low down payment program, like 3% down, 3.5% down. And I'm like, I'm so glad you did it on your own, because if you don't know, the way that program works is they would give you 20% down, but you have to give it back to me. And I'm going to take 20% of your equity as well, or your appreciation. Well, that's expensive. The state of California takes enough of our income, right? So I would rather have somebody get in with a low down payment and do it on their own and not have the handcuffs that come along with that program. Do I think there's people that benefited from it? Absolutely. You had a couple clients close with it, right?
No.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I had a nightmare situation.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay. So good. Yeah. The Nightmare for All program. Yeah. How much money's back? It's like 200 million.
200. Yeah.
So, and we had a half billion last time.
300 million.
Okay.
So it's
so it'll be gone
together,
in a week.
Yeah.
So it'll be gone in a week again. But my hope for it is, oh, good. I'm glad it's coming back. Everyone will talk about it again. And hopefully more people get in without using it. That's what I like the most about it.
Did you have any VA buyers that came to you and was like, can I use this and VA?
No.
Yeah.
No. I mean, that's a good point. I didn't. Because the cool thing about the VA loan, it is 0 down. You don't have to have a down payment. But if you're borrowing 100% of $1 million price, it's a bigger
For sure.
payment.
Yeah.
But there's no mortgage insurance, at least. Like
Yeah.
there's other benefits to it. And that's actually, I think I was talking about that when that program came out, all the real estate agents were talking about it. I was like, so this is effectively 100% financing. You guys are over the moon about it, but this VA loan's been here forever and none of you want to help them.
Yeah.
Like what's the deal?
Yeah.
And then when the program dried up, like it went dry. And I think I did another video after that saying, hey, there's still 100% financing available. It's a VA loan and nobody cared.
It almost seems like for continuing education, because I mean, if you think about it, realtors are essentially the problem for the most part. Obviously, like you mentioned, some lenders that try to gear towards conventional too. But for the most part, for not just knowing VA loans in general, you would think that like NAR would kind of say, hey, you guys need to get to know this more. Or like something would happen where they would say
that could be
like,
cool legislation.
yeah,
Like to your point, continuing education, you'll have a 1 hour required VA class.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
And so what I try to do with the program is if you're not coming from a place I am where you just truly want to serve an underserved community, you'll, as a real estate agent, you'll make more money.
Yeah.
Like it's the easiest loan to qualify for. So if you just selfishly want to do more transactions and make more money, go help more veterans.
right. That's pretty solid. What do you have anything in the works to try and help more veterans? Obviously, you've done a lot, but anything that's happening, any like type of way to target veterans to try and get your services out there?
So I just started an ad. There's a company called My Base Guide, and I am going to be working with them. You have to pick a base. So I'm going to be working with Travis for that.
Yep.
I'm doing more videos on it, short form and long form.
Yep.
You know, both sides. I got away from that. I was trying to do that a lot. And what happens is I think people already know a lot of this stuff, so I don't make the video when the reality is most people don't. So
Yeah.
I just need to do more of that.
Well, I'm noticing too, and I think we've talked about this, but like the kind of talking head content is just like in a downward, spiral in a sense. So, and that's kind of why I wanted to do stuff like this, because I think this is it's just way more natural and just less salesy.
Yep.
But I feel like, yeah, if you're not like just giving like just a real solid scenario now of how you won for your client, or talking about this where people can just really absorb that knowledge, people are just totally zoning out.
Yeah, I think people want authenticity, right? If I'm watching Instagram, and think of where your mind is when you're watching Instagram. You're waiting at a doctor's office for your appointment. You just boarded the plane. You're waiting for it to take off. You're not in a place of, I really want to understand how this works, right? So I think the way I looked at Instagram videos is, for me, it's I get to be authentic, show people who I am, hopefully my confidence in what I do comes through in those videos, and speak to, if my current clients are having these questions, there's probably a lot of other people that have these questions. So it just came from a very authentic place. And then if you like those videos and follow people that do those, Instagram's going to feed you more of them.
Right.
When I think what happened is there were so many people saying the same thing that people tuned out, and it hasn't been fun to buy home lately, right? It's not like we have all the hope that people had in 2020, 2021 with the lowest interest rates of all time. Homes are more expensive, right? My monthly payment's higher. Home prices are supposed to crash. They didn't. They're going up as interest rates are high. I don't want to see somebody tell me how to buy a house because I don't feel like I can anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Where like something like this is just completely authentic, unscripted. And I think that's more in line with what people are looking for.
Right. No, that's actually a really good point, because right now, for some it's just unfeasible, and like they're seeing all these agents and like, pictures of the people that bought homes or whatever it is, and they're just kind of like, screw you.
Yeah, here we go. Another realtor lender telling me how to buy a house.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care.
It's like why everybody wants the market to crash so bad.
Right.
Right.
I talked to a client yesterday. She's been trying to buy a house, but somewhat unrealistic about her budget.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm just going to go rent. And I'm like, well, okay, why? And she's like, well, this isn't working. I'm just going to wait for prices to crash. I'm like, what's going to make that happen? I don't know. And I go,
it's got to happen.
Yeah. She's like, well, do they have to go down? I'm like, but why do they have to
Yeah.
go down? They don't. If interest rates go down, like if we're seeing, 14 offers, 30 offers with interest rates in the mid sixes, how many offers are there going to be when rates are in the mid fives?
Yeah.
It's not like inventory is going to come back.
Yeah.
So we're, especially I'd say in California, the Bay Area specifically, show me where there's land to build more inventory. If it's a supply and demand issue, how do we fix the supply?
Yeah.
There's no land left.
Yeah.
All these people with rates in the 2s and 3s aren't going to sell their houses.
Yeah.
rates go down, you're going to have more people come into the market. So demand goes up in a place where there is no inventory and no supply.
I mean, it's true, dude. I think like all of us that own houses just with literal just normal backyards, I think it's going to be like such a commodity down the road. I mean, I think everybody's going to end up being like condo townhome owners.
For new.
Yeah. I mean, or at least here in the Bay Area where there's just nowhere.
There's nowhere to go but up, right? So like, would you sell your house in the future?
No.
Ever?
No.
Just rent it?
Yeah.
Same.
Rent it, buy a you know what I mean? Like I don't know, dude, like you see my backyard.
Yeah.
I'm not out here like, it's not like my oasis or anything. It's just,
but
it's like just dirt, you know?
But that's the misconception is if somebody's going to buy a house, they have to sell one.
Yeah.
Not how it works.
Yeah.
Like I'll never sell my house.
I know.
I'll be in it. My kid's 5, at least 13 more years. Assume we become empty nesters and go buy a condo in Hawaii, whatever. I'm not selling that place.
Yeah.
I'll just rent it out and make a bunch of money off of it. Right. And
that's one of the things too, where like I always felt like when I was young and I got this house, and you know, when you're just young and trying to keep up with bills and stuff, I always thought like, man, if I could just not have a mortgage payment, like my life would be so much easier, or, you know, a rental payment or whatever it is. So I always said, like, I think that's the biggest gift that you can give your kid, if they can just move into a place. And then like, if they, you know, if you have to make some money, they give you some type of like decent rent. But even if your kid didn't have to have any type of rent or mortgage payment, and you're like, that gives your kid the freedom to really kind of like focus on, I mean, some kids can be lazy, but focus for the most part on what they would really want to do with their life.
Right.
Instead of trying to just make more money, more money.
Ends meet.
Which I think happens a lot here in the Bay Area.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that's what, so my oldest is 20. So I got 20, 15, 5. Oldest is in LA doing the influencer thing, being creative, being an entrepreneur. I want that for him. Right. Like, and so he sent me a text. He sent me a listing in Danville. And it was listed for like $4.5 million. He's like, could you imagine how much money we'd make if we sold our house right now? And I was like, well, 1, you're not good at finding comps, right? But 2, my response was, can you imagine how much money you and your brothers will have if we don't?
Yeah.
And that's what I want. I want them to have this multi-million-dollar house in 30 years, right? Inflation's going to take care of it.
Yeah.
And like my grandparents bought an Eichler in Cupertino for $40,000 in the 70s, and now it's worth $3 million. That's inflation, right?
Yeah.
Candy bar was a nickel. Now it's $3. Like, what if you just stocked up on Butterfingers back in the 70s and held on to them? It's a 4,000-ish% return.
Right.
So inflation's going to drive it up. So yeah, man, like I didn't have this growing up, but I want it for my kids, you know? Like,
I think that's where it gets sticky too, is like once you get to, you know, the age of your grandparents, right? And then you got your 3 sons. And then that's when that's essentially when homes do get sold, when they're all just like, we don't want to deal with this thing, man. We just want to, you know, like whatever. But it's like, dude, if like, for instance, me and my brother's kids could live in this house, you know, as roommates or something and not have to pay anything, like, dude, it's the dream.
And that's it. And so if you don't want it to get sold, that's what the trust is for.
Yeah.
So, hey boys, this house passes to your grandkids. Like,
never can sell it.
There's those trusts, like generational skips to where you just make sure this asset is going to take care of my family for generations to come.
Right.
And I mean, you could do that with stocks, I guess, but like, I don't know, a house is different.
Yeah. Never been a fan of stocks. But so you said something interesting to me, or no, actually I saw it, I think on your story, where you were like, you went to this event and everybody was like, you know, how do you do what you do, or, you know, business, whatever. And you're like, with video, all my business comes from video and all my business doesn't come from video. So explain that a little bit. Yeah.
So I was at an event and they're asking me about video. Everybody wants to do short form content, make the videos equal leads go into a funnel eventually turns into someone buying a house and I get paid. That's the vision. And it's not what I do. Yeah. So they say, Sean, how much, they want it to be very, like
trackable.
1-to-1. Yeah.
Yeah.
So from this video, how many leads did you get from that video? How much of your business comes from these videos? And I said, none of my business comes from these videos, but all of my business comes from these videos. And so the way I started explaining it to people is I look at short form content like a Super Bowl commercial. If you watch the Super Bowl, they paid $5 million for a 30-second spot. You see a Lexus commercial and you think the car is super sick. You've never run out the door during the game to go buy that car, right? But hopefully on Monday morning, when you're talking about the game, you tell your friends about this Lexus commercial. And when the time comes to buy a car, I don't know why I chose Lexus. If the time comes to buy a car, you buy that Lexus. Yeah. That's how I look at short form. Yeah. It's branding and awareness.
Top of mind.
Not marketing, not lead generation. And then on the other side, YouTube to me is more of where people are going to go, okay, I do want to buy a house. I want to learn how this works. Those long form videos, I think, are where people go, okay, I've interviewed this guy already. I like his approach. I like what he said. I'm going to reach out to him. And so the reason I say none, because I can't say this one video equaled this person, but I can say all of my business because more realtors know me and trust me because of my videos. Clients can interview me without interviewing me because of all of my videos. So that's why I say all of it comes from it. It's just tangibly, I can't say one-to-one, but if I wasn't doing the amount of video content I am, I wouldn't be where I'm at.
Yeah, for sure. Do you ever get people, direct buyers or direct home shoppers, reach out to you? Or is it really you built your ecosystem really just with realtors?
So I'd say as of now, it's still primarily realtor referral. Because I solve their problems, right? Oh, the buyer has this misconception of this, but I can't get through to them. Sean's really good at that, right? Sean's good at helping people see how they can help themselves.
Yeah.
But YouTube is starting to be more and more, like I'll get consultations on my calendar. And
From
I'm like,
YouTube?
Yeah.
No
like
shit.
I'll Google, because anytime I get Calendly pops it on there, I'll go, oh shoot, which realtor referred me this person? Like try to research it before our meeting. And I can't find them, right? And they're like, we watched this video. I have two specifically that I can think of right now where they said, we watched this video and we liked how you presented the information. You seem really approachable. That's why we're talking to you. So it is real, but that's the long form, not the short form.
Yeah.
But the different mindset. You're in a different mindset when you Google how to buy a house on YouTube. I want to learn how to do this versus I'm bored and scrolling blindly on Instagram.
Yeah. And for a split second, you think, oh, I should probably see if I can buy a house.
Yeah.
No, I like that. So I always felt like you lenders have it like super easy when it comes to doing video content because us realtors are like so immersed in our businesses. So when we're scrolling and then we're seeing stuff like that and then we're just constantly seeing you guys, I feel like it's different than when just a direct consumer is seeing your guys' stuff, if that makes sense. Because I feel like your guys' influence on us is easier than our influence on direct consumer. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I would almost say the opposite.
Really?
Yeah, because when I started doing video, I was like, realtors have it so easy because what they're presenting or providing to people is visual.
Yeah.
It's a house. It's a tangible thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do I make math sound good on a video, right? How do I make a mortgage something nobody wants?
Yeah.
Like literally nobody wants a mortgage.
Yeah.
How do I take this thing that nobody wants and show them how it gets them what they actually want, which is the house and the generational wealth and all the other stuff.
Right.
So I always saw it the opposite, but now I kind of see it as equal.
Yeah.
Right. And so I have a coach where, he and I disagree on this, but he's kind of like, if your business comes from realtor referrals, your content should speak to realtors. Right. And I go, I disagree because when I make a video that speaks to a buyer concern, it may answer a problem the realtor is currently facing and they can share that video.
Yeah.
And so I would rather, and that came from when I used to do my Friday updates to real estate agents. I would make the video saying, hey guys, here's what you can do. And the response would be, can you just make these videos so I can forward it on? Like, I don't want to recreate the content.
Yeah.
Just make it to where you're speaking to my clients and I'll forward it to them.
Yeah.
I was like, even better.
Yeah.
Like, thank you.
Yeah. No, it's super funny because I think you're spot on because you're like, a lot of us realtors, we still need a lot of lending, hand-holding, and education, right? So just like you said, the person that they may be in that exact scenario, maybe you're talking about someone with VA, they have this new VA buyer, and they're not guiding them the right way.
Yeah, and they might miss an opportunity. And I think that, so we, in the Bay Area, everyone's cash buyers. Like, how many of your clients are cash buyers? None.
Right now, none.
So then I think even in the heyday, like, it wasn't a lot.
No.
It wasn't a big number. If the majority of people are using someone else's money, a mortgage, to buy a house, the person that handles that needs to explain it. I don't think realtors should try to be lenders, right? Let your mortgage partner that you truly trust help to overcome those obstacles, objections, build confidence in the buyer so they get into the house faster. That's how I look at everything. And I'm starting to track this actually. From the day I'm referred somebody by a real estate agent to the day they get their offer accepted, how many days does that take? Because the shorter that amount of days means the buyer was confident enough to make an offer that would get accepted in multiples, which means I've coached them well in how they look at things. it means they're paying less for the home because the next house will be more expensive.
Yep.
And for the realtor, I don't want you to have to show 1,000 homes. I don't want you to have to deal with the emotions of a buyer who's going over and over and over.
That's awesome. I mean, that could be a great proof piece in itself too.
That's why I'm trying to do it.
Yeah.
Because I'm curious. I know it's fast. I
Yeah.
think mine is definitely faster than most.
What do you think, like 60 days or something?
I was going to say like 26.
Damn, dude.
Yeah, I just thought of that like maybe 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. That'd be great marketing.
And it's confident. So it's like, well, why does that happen? Like, because I keep hearing how agents have their clients are making offers, but the offer, they get beat. I'm like, well, that's the lender's fault.
Yeah.
And they're like, why? I'm like, because the lender hasn't shown them how to make a proper offer in a multiple offer situation.
Yeah.
They haven't built the confidence in going above ask. When we're not going above ask, we're going above list. And that's the lender's fault. And so, arrogantly, if you don't want to have that problem, refer them to me, because I know for a fact it gets done faster, but I want to have the data behind it now.
Yeah. There's definitely some buyers that are, of course, right. They want to get the deal.
Yep.
They want to lowball. I mean, even if they don't lowball, they're coming in under list we've educated on what the market is looking like. So what's your, do you work with the agent on that? Do you for me, personally, if I have a newer buyer that wants to do that a couple times or a few times first before they kind of start, their wheels start turning and realizing, I'm okay with that. As long as you start putting in offers, I'm good. Mm-hmm. If you're just going to kind of look and never put in an offer, or you just try to do some ridiculous offers, that's when the relationship won't work for me.
Right.
But yeah, do you have any, are you kind of helping the agent with that, if that makes sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think that's the most important part. So for me, I want people to understand you're not paying $50,000 more for the property because the bank's putting up the majority of the money. So it doesn't matter what the house costs. It matters what the house costs you.
Yep.
So if you go up $50,000 in price and you're putting 10% down, you're going to come out of pocket an extra $5,000, not $50,000, and your monthly payment's $200 more a month. Is the house worth losing over $200 a month and $5,000 out of pocket? Mm-hmm. It's a very different question than is the house worth losing over $50,000?
Yeah.
It's the same question. But one is, no, it's one dinner out. Like, I'm not missing this house.
Right.
And that's the thing. Like, I understand, okay, we have to make a couple offers so they understand how the market works. You got to lose a couple to get comfortable in this market. But what if that first one was the one? I don't want them to miss it.
Yeah.
I want to win that one.
Yeah. That's why I tell people all the time, like, hey, if you're going to lose sleep over missing this one, then don't fool around,
And that's why we have to build their confidence and show them the right way to look at going up in price.
Yeah.
Because if it's, hey, you got to go 100,000 over. There's no way I'm paying 100,000 more. Everyone's crazy. Well, 100,000 more is X dollars in a month.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm in.
Which to some people
Changes
is like
the game.
nothing. Yeah.
Changes the game. And then, so I just had one this week where home was listed at $1 million. We're in contract at $1,255,000. So $255,000, $250,000 over the asking price. It didn't appraise. It appraised for $1,165,000, so $90,000 lower than our price. Buyers didn't bring in a dime more money. Their monthly payment went up $80 a month because their mortgage insurance increased. And I did my consultation with them yesterday, explain this. They're stoked. I'm like, your house is going to sell for $1,255,000. The other comp that your realtor told you about is in contract for $1,250,000, but it's not closed, so the appraiser can't use it. But these two houses that are going to close within a week of each other,
you'll all be fine.
That's the market.
Yeah.
So guess what the benchmark is for your neighborhood now? $1,250,000. Guess what the next house is going to list for? $1,250,000. Guess what it's going to sell for? And they're stoked, right? And they're going to, they bought with a rate in the 6s.
Yeah.
They'll refi into the 5s
Yeah.
but when it happens. And when that happens, more people will drive their prices even higher.
Yeah.
So they're in, right? They weren't freaking out. They didn't think they overpaid. They understand how it works, but they understand it because I took the time to explain it.
Yeah.
Right? The agent texted me this morning. Did you talk to them about all that? I'm like, yeah, it's good. You're good. You don't have to do it. I did it.
Yeah.
But I like doing that.
Do you ever have agents that, it's kind of a rhetorical question, but overstep, and try to either say stuff that they're not really factual on the lending side or anything like that?
Yeah, I think that happens.
Yeah.
I think I try to stay in I'm sure I do the same thing. Like I'll say, I'm stepping out of my place right now. Roland will answer this better.
Yeah.
But
yeah, here's my advice.
Yeah. Just dumping on him. But yeah, I think so. The biggest mistake I'll say that I see with agents when they're newer, they feel the need to add value to their client, right?
Yeah.
I'm new. I want to add a ton of value. What's your credit score? How much money do you make? How much assets do you have? And they try to be like the liaison to lending. And it's one, you're stepping out of your place into something you don't understand, and then it doesn't allow the client to build trust with the lender, right? Because you become the middle person.
Oh, but Roland said this.
Yeah, Roland said you were
yeah.
going to this, and this, and
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I don't care. Like, it is what it is, right? And then it's like, then they're now they're mad, right? Roland lied to me. Sean lied to me.
Right. Miscommunication.
Yeah.
Last question before we wrap up.
Yeah.
What is some things, or I guess I should say, but your basic things that realtors should know when it comes to lending? Like, what is some stuff that's refreshing for you where an agent's not kind of overstepping, but they're like, hey, they know the good solid basics of what they should know, essentially?
That's a good question. So VA is one of the easiest loans on the planet. I would
Yeah.
like them to know that. I want them to know that if it doesn't appraise, the buyer does not have to necessarily make up the difference. It's complicated on how that works, but just know that that's the case, because buyers may be missing opportunities because we told them they have to have this giant surplus of funds available and they didn't. Comps are comps. We all know what the data looks like. I never worry about whether something's going to appraise or not, because we know if there's comparables or not. Those would be my top 3 that I can think of off the top of my head.
Love it.
Yeah. This is awesome, dude.
Yeah, dude.
Thank you, bro.
I know it's like once we come prepared, it's just
Yeah.
super simple.
Hell yeah. This is great. No, this is good,
For
dude.
sure. No, I appreciate you coming through.
No, thank you, dude.